why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
You know how they say some stories are too big to tell all at once? Well, this might be one of them. Because right now, in a way that almost feels accidental, we're watching the unraveling of something far larger than Diddy's conviction. Far messier than a rap feud, and frankly far more dangerous than anyone in the industry seems prepared to admit. It starts with a simple observation. Jay-Z doesn't lose. Not in business, not in court, and certainly not in the kind of high-stakes power plays that have defined his career. So, when his lawyers suddenly start filing emergency motions to block a project that doesn't even have a title yet, when they're willing to cite decades-old confidentiality agreements just to stop something from seeing the light of day, you have to wonder what exactly are they trying to bury? And why does it feel like the only person who isn't panicking is the one holding the shovel? What's your intent with the series with the film? I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like, there's the film asks a lot of questions. Maybe more questions are asked than answers. Let's start with a deleted post. 3 days ago, 50 Cent's Instagram account briefly posted a single image, a screenshot of a legal cease and desist, the sender's name redacted, the language unmistakably aggressive. The caption read only, "They know what's coming." Within hours, it vanished, but not before insiders noticed the timestamp, December 17th, 2025, and the law firm listed at the bottom, one with a very specific client roster. The same firm that just 2 months prior had represented Jay-Z in his emergency motion to block the release of unrelated footage tied to the Diddy trial. Coincidence? Not when you consider what 50 Cent told The Breakfast Club last week in an offhand remark that's now being dissected like a crime scene. Diddy was the appetizer. The main course, that's a whole different menu. And then he smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Man, I think that they don't want if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions. They don't want it to get out to the general public to make up. Now, let's talk about timing. Diddy's sentencing was finalized on November 14th, 20 years, though his team is already appealing. The Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, dropped December 2nd, a brutal 4-part dissection of his crimes, his enablers, and the industry that shielded him for decades. But here's the problem. Jay-Z's name was barely mentioned. A few passing references, a blurred face in archival footage, one cryptic line from a former Bad Boy associate about the people who never got their hands dirty. That's it. And yet, according to 3 sources connected to the production, 50 Cent spent the last 6 months in a war room with lawyers and a private investigator combing through another set of files, ones that allegedly tied Jay-Z to the very operations that just put Diddy behind bars. Flight logs, redacted financials, a 2021 video reportedly shot at a private estate that's been described as the missing piece. When asked point-blank by Rolling Stone if this new project was about Jay-Z, 50 Cent didn't deny it. He just said, "Some stories take longer to tell." But here's where it gets strange. Jay-Z doesn't lose sleep over rat beefs. He doesn't scramble lawyers for diss tracks. Yet in the last 30 days, his legal team has filed not 1 but 2 preemptive motions. One to a New York judge, another to a California Superior Court, arguing that any forthcoming defamatory material would violate long-standing confidentiality agreements. Agreements with whom? The documents don't say. But let's recall that in October 2024, when that since-dropped lawsuit accused Jay-Z and Diddy of involvement in a 2000 incident, his response wasn't a denial. It was a counterattack. This is extortion, not "this never happened," not "I'll sue for legal," just "they want money." Which raises the question, if the claims were baseless, why not say so? Unless the real fear wasn't the lawsuit, it was what the lawsuit might unlock. If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs, so that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, "Yo, listen here. You did it once and you gonna do it again." That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody. And then there's the paper trail. We know from Diddy's trial that prosecutors had their hands on years of travel records, private jets, international trips, the same routes and dates that matched testimony about gatherings in LA, Miami, even IA. What we didn't know until last week is that Jay-Z's name appears in those logs, too, not as a passenger, as the leaser. Multiple times between 2018 and 2022, according to a source who reviewed the unsealed exhibits. Now, leasing a jet isn't a crime, but when the destination matches the timeline of Diddy's freak-offs, the term used in court for his infamous private events, and when the same source claims there are receipts for payments routed through a shell company linked to Roc Nation's old accounting firm, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And patterns are what prosecutors build cases on. But let's back up, because the most damning piece of this puzzle isn't a document, it's a reaction. On December 10th, 5 days after The Reckoning premiered, TMZ caught Jay-Z leaving a closed-door meeting at a Midtown law office. He wasn't smiling. When a reporter shouted, "Any comment on the new documentary?" he didn't flinch. But when they followed up with 50 says there's more coming, you worried. His security detail immediately stepped in. That's not how a man acts when he's dismissing gossip. That's how a man acts when he's been ambushed by a truth he can't control. Jay. Yeah. At this point, now it's I would want yo, why? What? Now let's connect the dots. We know 50 Cent doesn't do anything without a strategy. His Diddy documentary wasn't just exposure. It was a demolition. And if you look at his history, he doesn't target people unless he's sure he can bury them. So when he starts teasing part 2, not on social media, not in interviews, but in private conversations with industry players, the kind that get back to the New York Post, you have to ask, what does he have? Because here's what we've pieced together so far. There's a witness, a former Bad Boy affiliate who, according to Page 6, has been in talks with 50's teams since September. This person allegedly has first-hand knowledge of events involving both Diddy and Jay-Z in the early 2000s. There's also the matter of the 2021 video reportedly shot at a Hamptons estate, allegedly showing high-profile individuals in compromising situations. And then there's the money. A 7-figure offer rumored to have been made through intermediaries to make this all disappear. The offer was refused. And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl that is new in the Diddy lawsuit. But here's the twist. Jay-Z isn't just trying to stop a documentary. He's trying to stop a domino effect. Because if this drops, it's not just his reputation on the line. It's the entire infrastructure that protected them both. The labels, the lawyers, the silent agreements that kept certain names out of certain headlines. Remember, Diddy's conviction wasn't just about his crimes. It was about the system that enabled them. The same system Jay-Z has spent 20 years carefully distancing himself from until now. And then there's the Beyonce factor. Because let's be real, this isn't just about Jay-Z, it's about the empire, the brand, the carefully curated image of hip-hop's first family. When the initial lawsuit dropped in 2024 accusing him and Diddy of that 2000 incident, his denial wasn't just legal, it was personal. My wife and I will have to sit our children down. That's not the language of a man dismissing lies. That's the language of a man who knows the lies might stick. And if 50 Cent's new project delivers what insiders claim, direct ties to the same operations that just sent Diddy to prison, then the question isn't if this blows up. It's when and how far the shrapnel flies. Now, let's talk about the silence. Because in the last 48 hours, 3 things happened that don't make sense unless you're looking at this as a cover-up. First, a Wall Street Journal reporter tweeted that her deep dive into Roc Nation's 2019-2022 financials was suddenly delayed due to missing documents. Second, a former Bad Boy accountant, one who testified in Diddy's trial, deleted his LinkedIn profile, not deactivated, deleted. And third, a source at Netflix confirmed that 50 Cent's team has been in active discussions about distributing this new project outside traditional platforms, which means no studio oversight, no legal reviews, just raw, unfiltered exposure, the kind that can't be spun. But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious. But here's what we haven't figured out yet. Why now? Why risk everything to take down Jay-Z, a man who spent 2 decades untouchable? Unless it's not about revenge. Unless 50 Cent isn't the one pulling the strings. Because let's not forget, Diddy's trial didn't just reveal his crimes. It revealed his leverage, the blackmail files, the recordings,